It is. It's December 14th, 2021 at 5:34 p.m. I call this meeting of the Wellfleet Select Board to order in accordance with the temporary enhancement and suspension of the open meeting law as allowed by the General Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The first item on the agenda is open session, public comments and announcements. Public comments must be brief and the board will not deliberate on any matter raised solely during public comments. Are there any? Okay. So on to school committee appointment. So the Joan Zuckers, sorry, can you unmute her too? Am I saying the last name correctly, Joan? Give Rebecca a second. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Zuckers, yes.
Zuckers, okay. All right. So I guess, I don't know, your application had a lot of information in it. You seem very qualified and willing to join the school committee. Are there any questions from members of the board?
No, it looks like you have a very interesting background and you're capable. It looks really good. So
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm looking for the motion, but do you want me to make a motion, Ryan?
1 second first. So Charlie, is it just through the next election? Is that correct? Yep.
Yeah, that's correct. We'd have to have this on the ballot for the
Yep.
balance of the unexpired term.
Yep, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I move to appoint Joan Zuckers to the Wellfleet Elementary School Committee for a term ending with the next annual town election.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I. Motion carries 3-0. And then Rebecca, can you tell Martha that I know that the school committee is meeting right now as well. Can you let Martha know that Joan's been appointed?
Yes, I will do that right now.
Okay.
Great, and I'll move over to that meeting.
Yeah.
If that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Just be aware that you can't vote until you get sworn in by the town clerk.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for being willing to serve.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Appointment of a police officer, Chief Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening to everybody in the board. Before you tonight in the packet, we have a second candidate to fill the second of our 3 open positions. We are very excited to bring Sarah's name forward. She is a Nauset grad, has interned at the Orleans Police Department and currently works for the Yarmouth Police Department as an emergency dispatcher. So I think the department and the town's very lucky to have a candidate move forward in the process, and we are excited. So I don't know, she's on this evening with us, actually, I believe at work. So if anybody has any questions.
I don't really have any questions. Again, I'm really glad that you're willing to perform this service for the public. So it's very much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Okay, are there any questions from the board?
Nope, I think she'll be a great police officer, a good candidate. So best of luck.
me. Thank you so much.
Okay, I move to appoint Sarah E. Chase as a full-time police officer, subject to the successful acceptance and subsequent completion of the Massachusetts Police Training Council Academy.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much, and
Yep.
hope you have a great night. You don't have to stick around with us for the.
Thank you.
Thank
Great,
you.
great. Thank you to the board and congratulations,
Thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, COVID-19 updates and recommendations. Rebecca,
Yes, hang on one sec. I put the paper in my backpack. Hillary has an update for everybody. There are 12 active cases in Wellfleet. They had a children's clinic for vaccines that was very successful when they vaccinated. She didn't give me the number of children that they vaccinated, but there is a new variant, I'm sure everybody knows, that's spreading. Hang on, I'm just trying to read her. For the previous 2 weeks reporting period, we had 17 cases of COVID. 4 individuals who tested positive had the 2-dose series plus a booster, and 8 in total have been vaccinated. The incident rate is 18.1, which is well below the state average of our positivity rate, which is at 4.4%. These numbers are based on data from 11/24 to 12/9. The age breakdown in our cases is as follows. 3 cases are 0 to 5 years old. 1 case is 5 to 12 years old. 2 cases in the 12 to 19 years old. 6 cases in the 19 to 65-year-olds. 5 cases in the 65 plus. Barnstable County is also reports the following. On November 24th, news broke of an additional variant of concern being Omicron. This variant has a relatively high number of mutations to parts of the various, which causes great concern to rheologists in terms of variant transmittability, which is how readily it spreads, and virulence, which is how sick it makes a patient. Efforts are being made to study this variant to determine if existing vaccines will be as effective against as they have been in other variants. Cases with Omicron variant have been identified in many states, including 1 case in Massachusetts thus far. It is quite possible that the Omicron will overtake Delta as a dominant variant. As with all previous variants, the mitigation efforts of masking, hand hygiene, and physical distancing, along with vaccination, are necessary to mute the impact of the disease. Barnstable County is receiving an average of 115 new cases per day, and their test percent positivity is 7.16.
okay. Are there any comments by the board or any updates a board member would wish to provide? John?
Just a question. I didn't get the percent positivity. What was it? Percent positivity rate in Wellfleet?
Is 8 point, hang on,
4.4%.
4.4%, sorry,
And that's below the state average of what?
18.1.
Oh, okay.
No, that's the incident rate. I don't know what
Sorry,
this,
Ryan.
Yeah, that's what I think I meant was the incident rate.
yeah. The incident rate in Wellfleet is 18.1. I don't know what the incident rate is statewide. It's not in her memo.
Oh, it isn't?
No,
But you said it's below the state average?
yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
Okay. With that, the financial work plan. Charlie?
Thanks, everybody. So we've, and I know Suzanne Grove Thomas is on the line as well. This is relative to the seasonal wages, and just in light of what's been going on in our local economy, the number of vacancies that we've had.
Charlie, financial work plan.
Oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. Thank you. So as you know, we have been impacted by a vacancy, resignation of the town treasurer, Miriam Spencer, on November 30th. And then in addition, we've had one of our staff members in the accountant's office who's been out on authorized leave for getting close to a couple of months. It's impacted the work effort, so that in this situation, we have Lisa Sauvé doing the town accountant's job and the assistant town accountant's job. And then with Miriam's resignation, Mary McIsaac has moved into the.
Are you begging again, Miss Charlotte?
is moved into the treasurer's role on an interim basis. Now, originally, when I've been updating the town on the financial work plan, we had hoped to finish up the review of fiscal 20 and fiscal 21 by the end of December. It's obviously going to be postponed, but it's still our goal to have that project done sometime in January and get free cash certified. Mary and Lisa have over the summer and the early fall made a tremendous progress in sort of, unwinding the ball of yarn. Just keeps leading to more and more issues and problems and questions, but it doesn't matter. I'm really proud of their accomplishments in light of everything that they've gone through. It's really quite impressive. And I will say too, just to put it into a place that maybe the public can understand, fiscal 20 is even more challenging than fiscal 21. And we've already made over 1,000 journal entries, corrective journal entries. These are, as we've reviewed events that occurred in fiscal 20, these are errors that were made in the accounting side and on the treasury side that Lisa and Mary, as they peel away the layers of the onion and start to identify these problems and make corrections. So as I say, while we have been interrupted because of the current reassignment of people, we're still pretty focused on getting this critical task done sometime in January. And I think, there was an article in the newspaper recently. I was interviewed in that article, and I guess I should say that, one of the reporters did say to me, Charlie, why haven't you referred this to the district attorney's office? And I just want to say publicly, we haven't done that because we haven't found any activity of a criminal nature. And I'm quoted in the newspapers of saying that, we can see signs of lack of training, high turnover, some competency issues, frankly, but nothing of a criminal nature. And so, we're still driven to follow through on the commitment that we made to the select board and the community to finish this process. And that'll allow us to close out fiscal year 20, close out fiscal year 21, and apply for free cash certification. And we still are committed to getting that done sometime in January. Now, Mary McIsaac has brought on, was meeting with somebody today who's a retired Cape treasurer collector to help us out. So, I think in the past, the select board have said, oh, do you need more help? And, we need the right help. We need people who know municipal finance. So Mary has a colleague that she started working with today. I'll give you some more information for that on that matter in my next report. And then also I've hired someone to help me with the budget process. Lisa Sauvé doesn't have time to assist putting this draft budget and warrant together for fiscal 23. So I do have someone who's been helping me on that project, and that person will probably be able to help me through the middle of January, which will be fine because we'll have a draft budget and a draft warrant for the select board and the finance committee to start to look at. And at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, when we present the budget and the warrant, and we want to do that right after the holidays, we'll give you a financial forecast that takes this budget and reviews it relative to your ability to finance it. Now, the reality is, we already know from going through the exercise of setting the tax rate for fiscal 22 that, we've used, every revenue stream available to finance this budget. And some of those revenues were one-time revenues, stabilization fund, for example. So we're going to have to address that issue. And I suspect we'll be talking about a Proposition 2.5 override in order to maintain services as you know them today. But once again, as we get into January, I hope to have that plan presented to both, the FinCom and the Selectmen as well, and the community, so that we can start talking about the 2022 annual town meeting in a, kind of a global and comprehensive way. So I think that's all I have. I didn't write a report this week that I usually talk about a lot of the financial issues because we had a short cycle because we had a meeting last week, but I will include a lot of these comments in my report next week and give the public an update. And then I was talking to John Wolf yesterday, and maybe I'll go backwards and try to post all of my town administrator reports right on the town administrator section of the website. And I think you can, if people are so inclined, they can look at that and be able to see the progress that we've made over the last several months. I also did receive a phone call today from the Inspector General's office, Ryan Miller, a representative from that office, and he had received some complaints about the fiscal issues that the town is facing. I've talked to him. I think this is my third time I've spoken to Mr. Miller. So we are giving the Department of Revenue updates on our work progress. We're also keeping the Inspector General's office up to speed with our progress, and both parties seem satisfied with the efforts that we've made today, and we will continue to keep all of these parties that have an interest in Wellfleet's financial future. We'll keep everybody informed of our progress. So I think that's all I have. Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, can you speak to, just for the public, about the path that we chose over doing a single journal entry as the auditor had proposed?
Yeah, thank you.
And once again, and about the amount of work that then entails.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, if you take a look at the auditor's report for fiscal 2020, they identified a variance of about, approximately $760,000 and reflected, recommended, that we do a journal entry to make a corrective journal entry on that issue that was raised in the audit. And, I suppose, that would have been a quick and efficient and solution to the problem. But I think that, when you hired me and when we brought on Lisa and Mary, we just felt in order to build confidence, not only in the community, but in terms of our fiscal records, that, we're really doing a fraud audit. I mean, to the extent that we are digging and looking at every transaction that occurred over this 2-year period. And I think that relates to, the issue that I raised earlier. In 2020, we've done over 1,000 journal entries. So I think when we get done, it's going to give the community some confidence that we have thoroughly looked at these valid concerns that people have and dug deep. But also the work product is better. Your records are going to be improved. Your account balance is going to be improved. And I will tell you, for example, Jay Norton is online here, our DPW superintendent, and we met with Jay and his administrative assistant, Jean, yesterday, I believe. And, they have a number of outstanding appropriations that were made by town meeting for special projects and equipment purchases. And those accounts are confusing and conflicting. And so we spent 2 hours yesterday working with Jay and Jean, and they have good records. You know, our department heads have done a good job of maintaining some quality records because there was a void at town hall, frankly. But we're going to be, you know, we'll do this with everybody. And I think when we get finished with the little project that we're working on at DPW, they're going to have a good record of what their special appropriation account balances are. So that's one piece of a large work project. And I just wanted to use that as an example of what we do every single day around here.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the board or the public? That's fine too. Okay. Well, thank you. The only last thing I would like you to do is, can you speak briefly on the expertise of the two people, Lisa and Mary,
Yeah.
and the amount of time that they're putting into this?
Yeah, well, thank you, Ryan. I mean, the reality is a lot of nice citizens come into town hall and thank me for what I'm doing. But, you know, the real work, the work in the trenches is done by Lisa Sauvé and Mary McIsaac. And, Lisa Sauvé and Lisa was the finance director for the town of Brewster. I was the town administrator for the town of Brewster. We grew up together, and we worked almost 28 years together in Brewster. So, you know, she has, and the nice thing of one, Lisa's terribly competent and very deliberate and thorough. But also Brewster used the VADAR accounting system, the same system that Wellfleet uses. So she brings that expertise to the table, but she's deliberate and thorough and professional. And she's no pushover. I think a lot of the department heads already know that. Now, Mary McIsaac, equally, Mary, started off her career as an auditor. She was the first female auditor for the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. And she did field audits for years and years and years all over the Commonwealth. She, ended up living on the Cape, had a family, left the profession for a while, but then got back in, and she worked for a few of the fire districts as a finance officer down in Barnstable. She ended up working in Harwich as the treasurer collector, in Barnstable, town of Barnstable, as the comptroller, and finished up her career working for Barnstable County as the finance director. And if you all remember, Barnstable County was she ended up taking over a position that had huge fiscal disarray and problems. And Mary really, along with a few other people, was the architect that addressed really huge problems down at Barnstable County. And when I frankly had never worked with Mary before, but I knew of her through all of our relationships with folks in the Cape. And when I had called her, she had been working up in Truro, helping out serving as a treasurer collector up in Truro for almost a year. And she had finished that project just when I called her and talked to her how much fun it would be to work together with myself and Lisa Sauvé and here in Wellfleet. So, Mary's been doing a lot of the forensic work behind the scenes. And then she and Lisa will work, off-site on a couple of days a week so that they can really review and follow the trail of some of these transactions. So, you really are in a situation, not so much with me, but with those two women, where you just have a really crackerjack team. Now, when the Department of Revenue met with us, sorry to go on so long, but when the Department of Revenue met with us to set the tax rate, their concern is, we stabilize the ship and make all these repairs, and then we leave, right? And, you know, Mary and Lisa are willing, you know, they don't want to work. We're all retired and we like being retired. And this has been a little longer haul than we might have envisioned. But they're willing to stay on and help during the transition process. And I think, you know, the idea would be trust but verify. So we will help you try to find some new people to bring on board. And if they need some training, we'll be there to assist with that. As I keep saying, Mary and Lisa are more critical to that transition. And then, you know, also just talking about, you know, the staff in town hall, I think people sometimes kind of apply a broad brush to these things. We've received a lot of really terrific cooperation from staff, and the department heads have been, you know, I find so many of them just helpful and professional, and they're doing a good job for their community. But in particular, downstairs, you know, Karen Murphy, our collector, Christine Young, our assistant treasurer collector, Nancy Vale, our assessor, Jennifer Congel, our town clerk. These are all really solid people that are part of this solution as well. So I just want to thank them. They've been very helpful and cooperative, and they deserve the recognition for their efforts.
Okay, John?
Yeah, just to clarify for the public, Mary McIsaac is in fact a forensic accountant, right? And could you explain, because there have been some questions as to why we haven't hired or, you know, brought in an outside forensic accounting firm, and I wonder if you could just explain that.
Yeah. Well, when actually, you know, when Ryan Curley actually called me to see if I would be interested in, you know, serving if I would be willing to come for an interview before the select board. You know, initially, I was thinking that, you know, that might be an approach that we could take. And when I had retired from Brewster in 2015, and Brewster went through a bad spell as well. And they did bring in a private accounting firm to do the same kind of work. Mark Abrams, who's well known in Cape Cod and in Massachusetts. And I did talk to Mark about helping out on this project. But, you know, and I had volunteered when Brewster was going through their recovery. I helped. Lisa Sauvé came back, retired, and came back to Brewster to help. And I think that when Lisa and I got together just before I started work back in Wellfleet, you know, we really, you know, we had worked with a firm, and, you know, Mark Abrams' firm did a good job. But we really felt that we needed that hands-on practical experience. And, you know, for that reason, we really would look for someone in this case like Mary McIsaac, because in the end, I think you're going to get a much better product because of the time and the commitment that we're making. And I do think it'll be, you know, more cost effective than the other alternative. But of course, you know, if the town reaches some point where, you know, they're not satisfied with what we're doing, we won't be offended, and would be respectful. And if you want to, you know, look at some other approaches, we'll assist in that. But I think you're going to be pleased and satisfied with this work effort. You know, and Ryan sort of touched upon it. You know, Mary and Lisa, I'll get messages from them. They'll get together on Saturday to work on some of these issues. They don't charge you for that, but they're just driven to getting this thing done and getting it done right. So, you know, I think many of you already know it, but, you know, you're lucky to have these two women working on your behalf.
John?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more that we have a great team, and I'm really happy we have them, as we all are. I just wondered, have you clarify for the public, the issue about having to go to a special town meeting in order to bring in an outside firm like that, even if we wanted to do that.
Yeah, well, and John and I talked the other day about some of these matters, so this is convenient. The other thing is we did, when Rich Polly and Harry stepped in on the void and put a budget together and a warrant together in an incredibly quick fashion for the June 26, 2021 annual town meeting. They did put some extra money in the town accountant's budget at that time because they knew they needed some extra resources. But we have, we don't have a large appropriation available to do this. So if we were going to, bring in some resources from some other source, we don't have any funding available for that. And the budgets are awful tight as they are. We have a number of deficiencies that we'll have to deal with as a budgetary transfers whenever we have a town meeting. So, we're already strained and with limitations, and we just don't have funding available for that. And we don't have free cash certified. So, it's another challenge. We will when we get done, and Lisa, Mary, and I are going to have a party, and we're just like so excited to think we might be getting to that point. And I think at that time I'll definitely have Lisa and Mary maybe come in and do a more detailed overview of what they did and how they did it. So that the public has a little better understanding of this. And someone said to me, Charlie, when are you going to be done? And I mean, it really, unfortunately, there were some warning signs probably in the past, and it would have been, hindsight's always 20/20, and it would have been good to start this process earlier, but it really was the audit that was the bellwether, right? When that audit came out, it was clear that there were significant problems that needed to be addressed in a more global and comprehensive way. And hence, we're all here working for you.
Well, thank you. Oh, John?
No, I just said thank you. Thank you.
Ellen?
Yeah, Charlie, one of the things you just said, which is, Mary and Lisa have come in and you have been giving us reports. And when we get a new accountant, a new treasurer, a new TA, those recorded reports will be invaluable. And you referred to them doing it perhaps a few beats in the future, like when things are resolved. Nothing could be better than for someone who comes in to hear it just the same way we heard it. So I hope that happens, and I hope it's offered to them and referred to so they know it exists. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So on that, I'd like to move on to the seasonal wages.
Oh, yeah. I tried to skip the other matter, didn't I? Thanks. I know we have Susan Thomas online. Becky Rosenberg is on vacation at the moment. But I think that this schedule that was presented to you, and Suzanne can talk about the season hiring seasonal employees much better than I can. But I think it's just trying to recognize that the competition for seasonal people is intense. And as I understood it, we did have a number of positions that we never did fill. So this is trying to create a new range for fiscal 2023 to give more flexibility to our managers. So Suzanne, I suspect you have much more information to provide.
Yeah, I'd just like to let the board know that 5 department heads, Beaches, Rec, Shellfish, Harbor, and DPW met together to establish these basically 3 subsections. Each one is a mixture of positions from different departments, but there's a range of hourly rates on the right-hand column. And the first one, and we haven't named them, so we'll call them group 1, are $16 to $22 in $15 to $22 in wages. The second group is $19 an hour up to $20 and $25, and the third group is about $21 to $30. And this, instead of worrying about each individual position, basically groups them into subsets so that when the department head presents the budget, we can determine by the number of hours and by the classifications of each position what we need to bring everybody up to where we're competitive.
Okay. Other comments from the board?
Yeah, I have one. I'm trying to get my hand up. So I'm very late in saying this. I've heard other people suggest it, other employees suggest it. And with seasonal employees, I think it's a great idea to give them the holidays like July 4th, Memorial Day, Labor Day off if their department is closed. So obviously rec works harder on those days, but it might be another incentive. And I think it would be, you know, especially some of our longtime seasonal employees, it would be a really nice thing to do. So I don't know how we could work that in or whether we have to wait a year or another town meeting, but yeah, department heads can talk about it.
Okay, Suzanne?
My immediate thought is most of the seasonal employees work for departments that work 7 days a week, but it
Yeah.
is a nice thought.
Yeah, yeah, like DPW, the transfer station's closed anyhow. I don't even know what they do when they come in, but certainly July 4th being one of the hottest days usually, just be, yeah. So for all the department heads, they can think about it and present it if they want.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Jay?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to say, Janet, thanks. Yeah, I would support that. For any holiday or departments closed to have those employees get paid for the holiday.
All right. So I move to approve the 2023 seasonal wages for departments as printed.
Presented, printed.
Yeah.
Second,
Ryan, a quick question.
Yep.
Remember, we got a second version, and so we're voting on this second version, right?
The second version only just included the harbor master, if that's what
Right.
Suzanne told me.
Okay, so it was the one we got electronically. It wasn't what we got in our paper packets. Thank you. That's what we're voting on. That's what the motion is on, correct? The second version. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the harbor masters stuff is in here, but okay. So, yeah, whatever that motion is.
and I seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roll call.
And just for clarity, what is the addition? Suzanne, sorry, you're muted.
There we go. Yeah, the original version that I sent to Charlie and Rebecca, I omitted the harbor. And then last week I realized I had omitted the harbor, so I sent that along as well. So there are 5 departments represented in the final version.
Yep, and the harbor is the seasonal 2
Seasonal
and
1, 2,
seasonal
and 3.
3. Yep,
Exactly.
yeah, so then that's as it's printed in the packet. All right, so I move to approve that FY 2023 seasonal wages as printed in the packet.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Ellen, I.
Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you. Jay Norton, Lieutenant Island change order. Lieutenant Island Bridge change order. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is, I'll just do a quick synopsis of the timeline of what happened here. So about a month ago, the contractor was getting ready to start the repairs to the bridge, and they were uncovering things that couldn't be seen from the visual inspection. And it was determined that the stringers at both approaches of the Lieutenant Island Bridge were rotted. So we had to act quickly and perform an interim repair to sister those stringers so heavy trucks could still continue to go over to the island. Those repairs are just temporary because of the lead times for the actual structural members that we need for the permanent repair. So this change order in front of the board today reflects that permanent repair, which is the 77,000 and change. It was fully vetted by our engineer. I had multiple conversations with him and the contractor to go over the numbers to make sure, it all made sense. And we're at a point where we're ready to move forward, and the engineer has signed off on that. The only thing we need to address on the change order is the time frame to complete the project. So the current contract expires December 31st of this year. So I'd be looking to make sure that this is done before Memorial Day. I think that's reasonable based on the lead time of the material. It's about 8 weeks to get the material. So, we're looking at February, March, April at the latest to get those done.
Okay, are we approving change order 1 and change order 2? Or is
This is
change
just
order
for
2
change
include
order
both
2.
of them? Jay,
This is just for change order 2.
we can't hear you. Your mic cut out.
I heard him, but yeah. Said it's just for change order 2.
He just got muted again.
Okay.
Can you hear me
So-
now?
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
Okay. Yes, sorry, it's change order 2 only.
Okay, and will we be amending the date tonight as well?
We could. I haven't finalized that with the contractor, but we briefly discussed it, but we could go and amend that too to extend the contract to the before Memorial Day. We'll have to pick a date.
So I move to approve change order number 2 and to extend the contract date to May 30th, 2022.
Ellen, second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Ellen, I.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. Okay. Change of ownership of a section of Main Street. So Jay and Jill.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, I'll open this up and then I'll turn it over to Jill McLaughlin. She's on here from Stantec. She's our consultant for the Route 6 Main Street project. I also see Pamela Hasner on the call. She's from MassDOT. So in a nutshell, what this entails, the culvert that runs underneath Main Street, that connects to Duck Creek to Hawes Pond, has been in disrepair for some time. I know there was some issues in 2016 where it was leaking and they had to close it. It is technically within the state highway layout. So what is in front of you today is basically the state is offering to pay for the engineering design and installation of this new self-regulating tide gate. And Pam, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but that's from my understanding based on the letter that we received back in May. And as a trade-off for that, the state is looking for a state highway layout change, which would put the culvert within town boundaries. Therefore, future maintenance would be on the town for the culvert. Jill and I have gone back and forth many times about maintenance going forward with such a design, and it's pretty light duty. There's not much in terms of maintenance for a structure like that. And it's something that I'd feel confident we could take on from our department to be the stewards of. So with that, I'll hand it over to Jill.
Sure. Thank you, Jay. I think you did a great job covering everything. So I can just show everybody a quick map that we prepared to highlight the change in the layout. So the orange line work here shown on the plan is the culvert that runs under Main Street and on either end the head walls. And so the existing town layout is just to the west of that. So that's that red line here. So everything from this line over to the right is state highway layout. Everything from this line over to the left is town layout. And with Mass DOT's request in the letter that they mailed, we would alter the layout limit to be this blue line here that's shown on the plan. So that shifts it about 50 feet or so to the east and encompasses the culvert and the tide gate. So those would come under full town ownership if approved tonight.
Okay. Helen?
Yeah, two questions. This sounds great. My first question is, so if I understand correctly, with no strings attached, the state is giving the town a chunk of land. Is that correct? That's my first question.
Yes, and with it comes the ownership of the maintenance of the culvert and the new self-regulating tide gate that's going in.
Once it's installed, but that
Correct.
installation is going to be paid for by the state, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. The second question is even more important. So this came up years ago. That Hawes Pond was a place that there was the presence of glass eels. In other words, eels at a very early stage in their development, which is hugely precious and important. Is this culvert going to be, shall we say, rated for glass eels? This is really important.
I can jump in on that, Jill.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Helen, and through you, Mr. Chair. I spoke with Hillary about this actually this afternoon, and that was one of the concerns that was brought up to make sure that that eel passage would still be applicable and open. And this design with the self-regulating tide gate will allow that continuance of the passage. So as it is now, it's dysfunctional, but with the new tide gate, it will actually improve the conditions and allow that passage of the eel.
And forgive me, Ryan, in both directions, correct? So Hillary thought it was wholesome, right? Hillary thought it was okay. Jay?
I'm sorry, you cut out for a
Hillary
minute.
thought it was all right for both
Yes.
directions. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions or comments Okay, so seeing none, I move to approve the change of ownership for Main Street in Wellfleet, Massachusetts as presented.
Ellen second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Ellen, I.
Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Jill and Pam.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, I think we covered the tie gate. So does everybody think that we've covered the tie gate sufficiently? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, sorry, scroll. Okay, Department of Public Works, capital improvement plan items. So the water refill stations. Is anybody from the recycling committee on? Because I reached out. Oh, Christine, okay. Can you unmute Christine, Rebecca?
Yeah, she's good.
Okay,
I unmuted myself.
okay. So Christine, can you walk us through the water refill stations?
Yes, so I listened to last week's discussion and I can address some of those questions. But first, just to recap what we've done in the last few years. The first water refill station was installed in May 2018 on the exterior of the rec building at Baker's Field. And that was a grant that the recycling committee was awarded. The equipment cost was $2,000 for just a refill station without a bubbler or any other kind of water. There's no, so first of all of these water stations that we're talking about are for exterior use. The intention is to provide refill water bottle opportunities to visitors, anybody that's coming through town. In the summertime, we have, huge packs of bikers coming in, descending on the restrooms at Town Hall looking to refill water bottles. Boaters, obviously basketball players, tennis players need to refill while they're out and about. The one that we installed does not have any electronic, number of refills counting that you see on interior units like the ones that DPW installed at the COA and at Town Hall. The models that have been installed for exterior use by P-Town and by Orleans and are planned by Eastham are not electronic for obvious reasons. So the only issue is water availability, and we're installing them where town water is available. So as long as town water is in the pipes, then these would operate during during power failures. So back to what we've done so far. So in 2018, in May was the first one. In December or in the fall of 2018, we did a gift fund drive to solicit funds for 2 more water bottle refill stations, one for Town Hall and one for Marina. And we did get sponsorships for the full amount of the equipment, which was $2,000. At the Marina, the then harbor master said that they would cover the installation costs. Unfortunately, that unit is still sitting in their garage and has not been installed yet. We have repeated assurances that it will be, but that's gone through the 2 years. It's still not done, and we approached Jay about helping us figure out either how to get it installed or another place to put it or something. In the case of the Town Hall unit, the estimate that was done at the time by the plumber that the DPW usually uses was $3,000, and we didn't have that money available. We were hoping that DPW could help us with it. One of the water commissioners then said that he would be willing, Neil Godwa, said that he would be willing to install it, but that was 2 years ago, and that apparently is no longer the case. So we needed some help to get these units that we had sponsorships from one from Nauset Disposal, the other one from SPAT. And they had sort of, we had told them that there would be some plaque that indicated their sponsorship of those water stations. So we were kind of stuck. And so we talked to Jay, explained what had been going on in other towns on the Outer Cape. And particularly in light of the plastic water bottle ban, our big push was to provide tap water, free refills, specifically for visitors and anybody else that's out and about outdoors and needs to refill their water bottle. So that's the background.
Okay, John?
Yeah. Why, now does that $2,000 or $3,000, is that the cost of the equipment or the cost of installation or both?
The $2,000 is the cost of the equipment.
Okay. My question there, because now this is being sponsored and the town isn't paying for it, I'm obviously not going to be as concerned about this, but my question is, if the town is going to be paying for it, why is it so expensive to do this when a simple on-off ball valve type spigot can be purchased at a plumbing supply store for about $5?
Jay
So,
or Christine, whoever is best suited.
Some of these have to be energized, and the reason why, because of ADA compliance. So there is an electronic mechanism that operates the solenoid of these systems.
Oh,
So,
I see what you're saying.
So there is a component of that.
And that's something we're required to do that. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
so Jay, that may be the case, and maybe the one that's that we installed, the DPW installed at Bakersfield Rec Department, Rec Building,
Yep.
is not ADA compliant. And is that because it doesn't have enough pressure, or?
No, that one is energized as well at Bakersfield.
Okay. My impression was that didn't have any electrical hookup, because after the fact, we wanted to install a cooler for it, because the staff said that, that it was coming out kind of warm because the building was elevated and the pipe was out in the air. And, I may have misunderstood it, but okay. So that's the fact. I did want to address, though, the fact that, the interior ones do have electronics. The outdoor ones normally don't. I didn't realize they needed any electrical hookups, but
Really not so much.
I don't know if that would cause them not to be operable. Do you know if that's the case, Jay? If they would not be
in
operable?
the last meeting, I know something came up with regarding power outages. So we did some research just to see if there was any type of solar products that would activate the solenoid in the event of a power outage. And we couldn't find anything that has been installed around New England, at least. But these are really only going to be operable in the summertime. So the amount of times that the power is going to be out, it's not going to be a lot. So to go through the great expense in making these all solarized, I don't think it's fiscally responsible.
Okay.
Agreed.
Helen?
Yeah, I think Jay just answered my question, which was going to be, hey, these are only going to be seasonal because the DPW is going to have to go around and drain them and then turn them around, turn them back on in the spring. Thank you. I got my question answered. Thank you.
Okay, Mike? Sorry, can you unmute him?
He's all set.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I think that this is kind of the cost incurred by having a single-use water bottle ban in the town of Wellfleet, we have to provide, a means for people to refill their water and not sort of force them to be buying, carbonated or sugary beverages just because we as a town decided that we didn't want single-use, plastic water bottles. So I think it's really important. I think it's part of that. And I'm not so concerned about the power outage because you can still buy gallon jugs of water for drinking around town. I really am just concerned about people being able to get water on the go and, replace single-use water bottles with their refillable bottles in the summertime. So I'm for this.
Okay. John, you had your hand up earlier. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, through you to Jay. There's actually a very simple and cheap solution to the outage problem, if that's an issue, and that is a small, what they call a UPS, uninterruptible power supply, because the solenoids draw so little current that would work fine. They can be bought for like $50 a piece or so.
Yeah, thank you, John. That's a good thought.
Okay. So I move to approve the capital request for water refill stations.
John, second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Where's Mike?
He's muted again. What's your
Can you put
vote?
him-
Helen? Yep. Can you unmute him? But Helen, what's your vote?
Helen, I.
Okay.
Michael, I.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, Route 6 Main Street project for ongoing engineering consulting. So Jay, Janet wasn't with us last week. Can you just walk her through what the request is for?
Sure. So this is to continue the engineering services of Stantec for fiscal year 23. I reached out to Jill to get a cost estimate of what their services would entail for that year. It's a lot lower for that year versus this year, just because a lot of the heavy lifting is occurring this year with the 75% design plans, 100% designs, and so on and so forth. So this is really just to keep the project moving and to continue and retain their services.
Okay. Are there any questions at this point? I believe we've gone back and forth over this extensively at this point. So I move to approve the capital request for the Route 6 Main Street intersection engineering.
Second,
Okay,
Michael?
roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Michael, I. Michael, I.
Okay, Ryan, I.
Helen, abstain.
Okay, motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention. Okay. ER. Police Chief Hurley.
Oh,
Sorry, there we go.
Yep, how's that?
Good. You have a good vacation?
Yes, the island of Aruba treated us very well, so happy. Happy to be back.
All right.
Again, thank you for delaying this from last Tuesday's meeting. I'm not sure, just in general, it's not a huge capital improvement budget. It's mostly comprised of vehicles and other miscellaneous equipment, and just kind of reviewing the video from last week and listening to the DPW director, Jay, just speaking about sometimes when things throughout a fiscal year need to be replaced. I think what happens at times in our capital budget is we kind of pigeonhole ourselves to replacing a specific item. And if there's either monies left over or those items don't need replacement right away, it's difficult, or actually we can't spend it on any other items that may need to get replaced. So I'm not sure moving forward, instead of identifying specific pieces of equipment, if, just labeling, replacing aging police equipment would be appropriate, or does it belong in the expense? Just kind of throwing that out there this evening.
Okay, so how many cruisers does the Wellfleet Police Department have?
We have 4 marked line cars that are used on patrol and 2 administrative vehicles.
Okay. So and it's a 3-year replacement cycle?
We actually try to do 4+
Okay.
years on them. And I know typically the industry standard, with some municipalities is after 75,000 miles, they really recommend replacing them. We get well into the 130 or 40,000 mile range on ours.
Okay. The one thing I would say is that are these going to be hybrids?
As of right now, the 2 vehicles we purchased in the FY22 are regular gas. There's been a year or 2 now of hybrid. There are no straight electrics, but it's something we are exploring, and also through the Green Communities Grant to try to obtain some funding for those also. But we are exploring all the options.
Okay, I mean, so over the long term, I with the number of miles and engine hours that the department puts on vehicles, we would probably end up saving money in operating expenses if we went for all hybrids. So Helen?
Yeah, through you to Chief Hurley. So is there talk of, or even maybe there is an existing charger at the police station? Are you guys considering that, or do you already have one? You don't already have one.
Nope. When there was renovation and reconstruction here in 2018, that was not part of the plan to place any here at the time. And to be honest, we have a very limited footprint here, so it hasn't been explored yet. And where and how we could do it hasn't been looked at yet.
How much do they cost roughly? Does anybody know?
Jay, could you answer that? You might be the best one.
You're muted.
For a charging station,
Yep.
I believe the ones at Town Hall were around $3,000 each.
Each. Well, that's not bad. Thank you.
That's predicated on having adequate headroom in the circuit breaker panel that would be supplying it, because they are pretty high demand.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can also, I mean, if this is even an issue tonight, but you can also plug in an electric vehicle and a hybrid into a regular socket, can't you? A regular outlet. It takes longer, but you can do it.
Yeah, you can. It just takes a really long time.
Yeah.
Mike?
Overnight.
Yeah, so we're talking about regular hybrid gas vehicles, right? They don't require any plug-in
I
to
know.
operate. So, yeah, I'm in favor of moving towards hybrid if it's practicable. They're not generally much more than a gas vehicle anymore. So that's all.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I'd go along with that too. Getting back to the question that was raised about the source of the funding for these recurring expenses, we had some discussion, didn't we, as to whether going forward this should be coming out of capital improvement or operating expenses?
Yeah, we've had that discussion for a number of them, where it's a reoccurring expense. Earlier this year, we were also talking about potentially creating a separate operating budget for vehicle replacements as well, as one way to handle the vehicle replacements. So how much more expensive would it be to go for hybrids? And And is it practical for this coming fiscal year?
Well, right now, the the request is for 120,000, which would be roughly about 60,000 per vehicle. I know right now the two that we just ordered back in July, and again, not knowing what inflation costs are with these vehicles, it's anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 more, sometimes more than that for the electric for those vehicles. So it would have to be spec'd out and priced from our vendors first to see what it would cost.
Okay, and what about the time to replacement? Is there a longer lead on hybrids?
I mean, right now you saw the letter from our vendor. We ordered July 6th. We ordered 2 vehicles and we received a letter at the end of September that they're 30 plus weeks out and they still don't even know where our 2 vehicles are at the moment. So we're probably looking at later spring before we see them.
Okay, Helen?
Yeah, I haven't memorized the line item that would tell me, if it exists, how much your department spends on gas every year. Do you know that off the top of your head? I don't.
We have budgeted 35,000 last fiscal year because of the cost of fuel was in my time was $1.31 a gallon. We've now gone up to, I believe, $2.39 a gallon. So I've seen years where we've come under on fuel and I've seen years where we've gone over by 10, 15,000 on fuel. You're trying to budget for an item that 18 months out, you don't know where the market's going to be with it.
I get it. I'm just thinking in terms of pros and cons of hybrid. Thank you.
So Chief, for the vehicle replacements, our next select board meeting is on January 4th, I believe, the first week of January.
Yep.
Would that be enough time to talk to the vendor and see if it might be possible to switch for this coming fiscal year?
Sure. Yep. I'll have the sergeant in charge of that reach out and get us a ballpark figure and what they are seeing for delivery on those vehicles also, because that's this is I'm entering my 3rd year as chief and I have not seen a new vehicle here during that time. So right now we're ranging anywhere from 70,000 miles up to 140,000 miles on our cars.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to take no action on the vehicles for right now. Does the rest of the board feel that's the same?
Yeah, that's fine. Does Chief Hurley mind waiting?
Nope, that's fine with me. It's something I've been exploring with the vendors and also with the energy committee, speaking with them last year and some of the finance committee members. I did reach out to the Green Communities grant representative, and right now, straight electric within the state, she has not seen a police department go to a what they call a line cruiser for that, just because of the amount of equipment that is in there and the power. If you have administrative vehicles, that would be more of a feasible option for that. So we're always investigating and looking into that.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be able to respond to emergencies,
Yes, we do.
John?
So a quick question through you to Jay. Looking ahead at electric vehicles or plug-in hybrids, we now looks like we're on tap to use the solar field over at the transfer station. Is that something that could factor into this?
Jay?
Free power for charging up town vehicles?
I'd have to look into that, John.
Okay, just thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so bulletproof vest replacements?
Yeah, and as I was stating before, that's right now we're coming up on a 5-year cycle for replacement on those. However, we have lost some staff turnover where we're actually purchasing them out of the operating budget this year. So again, either I can work with administration or the board's thoughts on, instead of naming specific items, should we be looking at more towards replacing police equipment as needed? How
many vests are there?
We have 15 full-time, including the animal control right now.
Okay, so I'm just wondering if there's some way that we could just is there any benefit of doing a bulk order, or is the price the same as we replace a certain number each year?
Nope, usually it's just from a vendor and it's the pricing at the time, so there's really no difference.
Okay, Helen?
Yeah, revealing my ignorance, Chief Hurley, how does they're necessary, those vests? I'm glad that the, department has them, but how can they wear out? I mean, what wears out on a vest like that, which you're not wearing every
The
day?
fibers.
First of all, Helen, they are worn every shift. That's
Right.
that's the intent of it. The materials that it is built out of over time start to deteriorate. So the manufacturers say they have approximately about a 5-year lifespan. And the final item is, I mean, these are items that you're wearing either against your body in heat and different types of sources. So they do get a little gnarly over time as the years go on.
Yeah, that I imagine, but the interior protective material that absorbs a bullet, that also wears out?
Kevlar breaks down over time.
Okay, thank you for answering the question. That's the kind of thing that it's a detail, but it's an important detail. It isn't just cosmetic that we need to replace it. Thank you.
Well, if my mom was still around, you could talk to her about Kevlar for hours. She was a textile engineer, so among other things. All right. So I don't think that we can go without them for this coming year.
Oh,
I just think that a lot of this is kind of required equipment as to doing, you need these to do your duty, basically. And I would almost like, if there's 15 vests, or basically come up with a program after this year of, maybe replacing 3 each year or something like that, if there's no difference in price. I mean, that just makes more predictable overall budget. But for now, I would say I move to approve the FY 2023 request for bulletproof vest replacements.
1 second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Michael,
Brian,
aye.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
That's
Ellen?
right.
Helen, I.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay. What's next for FY 23?
Yay. MIS equipment and software.
1 second. So that's it for FY 23. Is that correct, Chief?
Yep, just those 2 items or
Okay.
2 categories.
The other one that's in the capital improvement plan is the taser replacements. That's not for this coming fiscal year, but again, this is a product that has a 5-year life cycle. Maybe we should be looking at funding that as an operating expense going forward as well.
Well, that's why I was bringing up, when you really just start looking at some of this other stuff, AEDs. I mean, we've just been replacing this stuff, with basically just monies that are being taken away from other projects, training, overtime. It's, we got to kind of come up with a better way to try to get some of this stuff replaced. And again, I'm asking today, in 12 to 14 months from now, if some other things are not working properly, to continue to wait for replacement is not ideal either. So
yeah, I'm just thinking that, it would make more long-term if it's basically an expensive operating as a department, that might make more sense to transfer some of these into
yep, I agree.
operating budgets. Okay, so Charlie, general MIS equipment and software.
Thank you. So I did this item, the $50,000. I frankly just copied what had been on the plan in the past. And then when Ryan had talked about getting some more information for tonight, I did talk to Dan, is our contracted IT professional from Barnstable County. He was only in today. So I did start to talk to him about to get some more information on, what are the trends and what do we use it for over time. And Dan didn't really have a good handle on that. And he recommended that I reach out to the head of the IT department for Barnstable County. So he's going to give me the contact information. I'll have to follow up on that and come back to the board at a future meeting.
Okay. So with that, let's take no action on the MIS equipment and software. Town clerk microfilming project. Charlie, unless Jennifer's on here.
Yeah, Jennifer is on. I'm pretty sure. There she is. Yes.
She's all set. You can unmute, Jennifer.
I don't see her on here.
She's the phone.
Oh,
Can you try unmuting her again?
I did. I think it's *9, right?
there we go.
There you go, Jennifer.
Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to hear for this request. It's been a long time since our King's information system was updated. Has been about 5 years, and Don Rickman did a really good work for the town in getting all of our permanent records organized in a database, but it needs to be audited, and we just need to not do microfilming anymore because it's a kind of outdated type of storage. But as everyone knows, our storage is at a premium in all the buildings, and many of the offices have boxes of documents stacked up in them. And so I would just really appreciate to have this reappropriated for fiscal year 23.
Okay, and so would we be saying for digitization rather than microfilming?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions for Jennifer?
Nope.
Okay, so I move to
Actually-
approve. Oh, yep.
Can I just say one thing, Ryan? Thank
Sure.
you. Is that, so it's not just for digitizing records, but also for King System to do an audit.
Okay. So I move to approve the town clerk's capital request for digitization and auditing of town records.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Michael, I.
Ryan, I.
Ellen, I.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Library, public computer upgrades. Okay, there's Jennifer. Can you unmute Jennifer working?
I did.
Okay, oh, you got her. All right,
Thank you. I was potentially gonna try to limp along a little longer with the public computers we have, but I have just found out that Barnstable County IT will no longer support our public computers, and we have several computers that are so out of date. They have not been replaced since they were originally installed in the library. They're still running on extremely old operating systems and have old software on there like Microsoft 2003. And people who come in to use the library's computers can't function, there's no functionality for them or anything. I looked up the last year before COVID for my statistics. Oh, sorry. I looked up my statistics the last year before COVID, and we had over 32,000 usages of our public computers. And as you know, in this town, there are large swaths of Wellfleet that are unable to get serviced by broadband by Comcast. I'm on the cable advisory committee. And the library is where people have to come to use a computer reliably in a lot of those cases. And we are limping along with a lot of our equipment. And this has gotten to a situation where now that I've found out that we can't get any more updates and that some of this equipment is falling apart, that we're at an emergency situation.
Okay, are there any questions for Jennifer?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, so I move to approve the library's request for or capital request for public computer upgrades and replacements and software.
Ellen says,
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Michael, I.
Ryan, I.
Ellen, I.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much.
You.
Town administrator's salary, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. Just for public purposes, the town has hired Richard White of Gruen White Consulting Services to assist with the town administrator search process. That a couple of steps have already been done. He's interviewed department heads and some key citizens in the community. He's now reaching out to members of the select board. I know he's talked to some of you, but not all of you yet. Once that's done, he'll write up a draft community profile for review by the select board. But tonight, Richard is working on a draft ad for the notice of vacancy, just so we can keep putting pieces of this together. And the critical, I wanted you to see the draft ad that he had put together. And then the critical item in the draft ad is the salary range. Now, Richard has put, the range of 160 to 195 in here. And he has additionally included a survey of other Cape Cod communities in there for the board to review. And it's kind of interesting. I mean, the reality is that these wages are rapidly increasing. Housing has a lot to do with that. But anyway, it's really what you, the select board, would like to include in the ad for a salary range.
Okay, did he have a recommendation?
Yeah, he had a recommendation of 160 to 195.
Okay, so looking at FY 2022, does only Mashpee is below 175. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we have to set the minimum at 175. Helen?
Yeah, I think we should make it very clear that after the probationary year, the salary could go up a good percentage. But, in other words, the person would understand that more money would be in the offing. But for a variety of reasons, I don't think we should start with 175. I think we should maybe start at 170 and also discuss maybe some kind of housing assistance for the first year if the person needed it. In other words, somebody may, commit to moving here, sell where they are, make money from that, and just want to buy a new house here if they can afford it. And I think that the thing that really makes it hard for people to commit to here is how much the houses cost. So if we could have it be a little less, and then for there to be some kind of housing stipend of some sort. Because I know, Charlie, didn't Truro or Provincetown do that? Who did that recently?
Provincetown.
Yeah, you know, in Provincetown, somebody works in Provincetown, doesn't necessarily live in Provincetown. But the reality here is that would mean that they wouldn't be tempted to be commuting long distance from wherever they were, because they wouldn't be sure, you know, about really what it was going to be here. What do you think of that, Charlie? Oh, great experienced one.
Well, I will say I wish I was still working because they all make more money than I did when I retired. But that's all. It's all fine. They deserve it. It's a hard job. I will tell you that Provincetown has a special situation because their charter requires the town manager live in the community. So the housing allowance was a critical factor there. The world's changing, right? And as we get beyond the Rotary, the housing costs are shocking. I always lived in the community I worked in. Obviously, most of it was in Brewster, but I was in other communities for a short time. I think it has a lot of value personally to live in the town. In terms of connecting with community issues and the citizens. So I think the idea might be if you desire to have someone live in the community, that would be an incentive to do so. And now, you might have people, frankly, that are applying from the Cape that already own a home and live here, and it's unlikely they're going to want to move. But I think you could use that as an incentive. And depending upon who your finalists were, that just could be a negotiation item.
Yeah, I didn't mean in town. I meant like Outer Cape or, at least Brewster, so that the commute wouldn't be crippling.
Yeah.
I don't know. What does the rest of the board think about addressing this, constant issue that we have here?
I'm of the opinion that rather than doing a housing allowance, you basically factor in the cost of housing into the salary.
Yeah, except what if they already live here? You see what I mean?
Well, they could still use the housing allowance to do a number of things, even if they already have a house here. They could use it to pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
So.
Just saying.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I think that setting the salary with a range of somewhere around, 170 to or 175 or whatever to whatever we decide on. And then, we can leave any kind of housing stipends up in the air to the negotiation. Start, contract negotiating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, let's set the salary at 170 to 195. Because Helen, that was your suggestion for a starting salary.
For starting 170, yeah, but not to go up as high as 195. Okay. Does anybody remember what we paid our last two?
Maybe we should have tried to find other candidates.
Okay.
I don't remember the last two, but I think Ms. Broadbent was starting at 165.
Yeah.
And she could go up if she had a few things, she could go up.
Right. Thank you.
And like in 6 months to a year, she could get an increase. I think starting at 175 is pretty. I'm looking at all the other people's salaries now, and 175 is pretty good. So I mean, we are a small town. We're one of the. Truro does pay 175, but that's not a starting salary. I mean, I always think it would be a good idea to say we'll start you at 170, and if all the all your, whatever, schooling, procurement, all those things get in order, whatever the incentives are, within 6 months to a year, we could go up fairly, to 175 or maybe 5,000 every year. I don't know. It's hard to say. It is expensive to live here now too, so.
Yeah. So I think you need a decent range in case to attract
Yeah,
a diverse selection of candidates and to find the one that's the best. The previous town administrator search, 160 was the starting, and it went up to, I don't know, but it was significantly more than 160.
I think it's 175
Yeah.
in the first year or two.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't have that in front of me. I just remember there was a decent range then. But Chief Polly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my understanding that the previous town administrator started at 160,000. And then upon getting the certification for procurement officer, would have moved to 165,000. That's my understanding. I do note the town of Truro, their town manager started at more than the 165, but was also a given or was budgeted for a moving allowance to move onto the Cape and within so many miles of Truro. The only thing I will say is, this is a conversation that we've had over the years, whether it's any employee or any employee position in town, and you get what you pay for. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I would just say that when the position was advertised, there was a range included, and Maria's starting salary was set at basically the low end of the range that was advertised. So Helen?
Yeah, so Orleans is 171 going up to 180, 500 and for the 2022 salary. And why don't we do it, the range being something a little more conservative, i.e. from 170 to 185.
I think that's too tight, but Charlie, can you tell them what current fiscal year we're in?
Well, currently in fiscal year 22.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's their current salary. We'll be hiring somebody, and all these people will have, a higher salary for the year that we're hiring somebody in for FY23.
Except it's the first year. And, we don't, as you may have noticed, always know what we're getting. And I've now experienced that 3 times with 3 different town administrators.
Okay, Charlie?
Well, I think you want a broad range. I think that's what Richard White is recommending. And you're going to get some candidates that, maybe they're assistants somewhere and but they're ready for the move, and you're going to pay them probably at the lower end of the scale. But you may very well end up with candidates that are professionals that have been in the business for a while, just want to change, and so you want a broader scale. So you're going to negotiate this during the process when you get a finalist. So I wouldn't make it too tight, too narrow.
Okay, so let's go for 170 to 195. Because Richard is recommending 195.
Yeah, doesn't mean we have to pay it. Yeah,
Yep.
I would agree with that.
Okay, John, where are you on this?
I favor starting at 170, and I think we should be willing to go up to 195. I think.
Okay.
I need to say one more thing.
No, 1 second, Helen. Mike, where are you on the salary?
I'm fine with setting the range high, and if we have a candidate that's just new, we just have to negotiate if they're the right person. but if we do get somebody who's been doing this for a long time, they may be near that salary right now. So I don't really think we should be advertising a lower salary than we might be attracting someone from another town that's already making somewhere around there. We want people to apply. So.
Okay, Helen, and then I'm gonna make a motion.
Yeah, one more point. In my experience, a lot of our applicants, the ones that reach the finalist stage, are people who, it isn't just that they've been doing it for a while and we get to benefit from their experience. It's that they come here and they think they're going to do a stint and then retire. And yes, Mike, you're right. They've had high salaries where they are and they think this is a nice place. But there's a lack of the vigor of someone who is more in middle age and in the middle of their career in those applicants. And I've now seen quite a few of them coming through. So that's the reason I'm not necessarily convinced that it should go up to 195. I would do 170 to 190 and I could vote for that. Thank you.
Okay, I move to establish a range salary or to advertise a range salary of 170,000 to 195,000.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Michael, I.
Brian, I.
Helen, nay.
Okay, motion carries 4-1.
No hard feelings.
Okay, signatory. So this is pretty straightforward in case John is unavailable or, away, that we don't have to have a quorum of the select board signed in order for people to get paid. Helen?
Okay with me, just remember we have to vote him back when he comes back.
No, this would only allow the chair to sign when the primary signatory is unavailable.
Is that in the statute? I don't think so. In any case, let's vote for you to do it now, and when John comes back, we can do it again. How hard is that? Thank you. I don't think it's in the statute that we can switch off like that. Never mind, it's not a big deal, Ryan.
Yeah, I don't know. John's keep doing it. So
Is this about signing the warrants?
yeah. It's just
What happened while I was away Thanksgiving?
I signed.
Well, wait a minute, didn't 3 people sign?
I don't know, there might have been.
It's either the person
Yes.
who's designated.
Yeah, yeah, we all signed, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's either the person designated or 3 people sign. And you know what? Why don't we just keep John?
So what's the statute that you're referring to, Helen?
The statute that allows us to designate someone to do what John's doing and what you were doing before and what I've done in the past.
Yeah, so this still would be designating. So this is, the motion is to, so I move to allow the chair to sign warrants on the behalf of the board whenever the primary signatory delegated by the board is unable to do so.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Michael, I.
Brian, I.
Helen, nay, because I don't think it's legal, but never mind. We'll find out.
Okay, motion carries 4-1. With this, I would like to, oh, wait, we are, select board reports.
What about discussing the Christmas Eve town hall hours?
I actually, if you don't mind, Chair, Christmas Eve, the town hall is closed. So you don't have to vote on it because
Yeah, that's what I was
the
thinking.
holiday
Okay.
is on the Saturday. I did ask the chair, or I actually sent you guys an email because I was asked by a few employees if you would reconsider or consider the 23rd as a half day so people could travel.
Okay, so is that okay with the rest of the board?
Yeah. And what about New Year's Eve? That's on a Friday.
That's closed. Town hall is closed as well.
Closed, you're closed,
It's
so
closed.
you don't
It's
need
my
a half a
birthday.
day before. Okay,
Okay, so I move that December 23 or 23rd, 2021 be a half day.
Helen,
Second,
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Brian, Helen?
yeah, Helen, I.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Select board reports. I have one. I'm probably forgetting others. I did have a meeting with the Cape and Island or Cape Cod Water Protection Collaborative. And they were talking about RME structures, which which is pretty applicable to some of the components of the current planning for Wellfleet. And they have a couple of different models, and only one or two of them are likely to be sufficient by DEP standards. So I'll see if I can grab that information again, and I'll send it to the board when I have the time. And the waste and the Clean Water Advisory Committee as well. So
Thank you.
are there any others?
I would just add that at the Cape and Island Selectmen's and Councils Association, Julian Sear spoke, and Ryan was there too. He just really confirmed and a number of times and wants everyone to know that the state has plans to disperse a lot of funds. And I think all the department heads know, a lot of our committees know that if you have something that you want funded, to get the plan ready, get it in.
Yeah,
Put your ducks in a row.
and he was emphasizing, shovel ready.
Yeah.
So if you have any or that are near shovel ready, I recommend getting them prepped in case.
Yeah,
so.
getting the approvals, the permits in a row, everything like that.
Okay, any others, John?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the place to raise it, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Nancy yet, but one of our shell fishermen raised an issue regarding dumping of sand in the vicinity of Fox Island that is apparently affecting his and other grants. And I do need to follow, or somebody needs to follow it up, and I'm happy to do it with Nancy. But I don't know if this is something that's been raised before, or if anybody's aware of it.
It has. So the Conservation Commission is the permitting authority over those. And Nancy actually went before them to discuss some of the issues that they were seeing from the sand renourishment. I've risen the same points with the Conservation Commission as well. Actually, when Mike applied for his extension, it included information on some of the issues that he was seeing with sand accumulating from the renourishment projects as well.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, topics for future discussion. Helen?
I've got sort of a hybrid here, which is
Okay.
this in correspondence. So a few beats ago, I think it was last week, the select board we all got a letter from somebody called LaChance, Barbara LaChance at the DOT, and it mentioned what was described as a shared use path. And it was unclear to me as one person what that referred to. So I wrote a short email, which started, I'm writing on my sole behalf. I am on the select board, but I'm writing just to find out where one could see a plan for this, right? There was no other input, I can copy you with it. And subsequently, we got some new information, and I only read it today, and I got a direct response to me as an individual as if I was a member of the select board, in other words, which I don't want, because we are 5. And his name is Michael Trepanier, and he answered my question, and Pamela Hasmar was somewhere in that thread too. There was another correspondence from her. And what I would like to ask is, given that this is a totally new project that we, at least I haven't, and there's been no report of it anywhere, had any information about, it's, believe it or not, well, they're thinking of a shared use path along Route 6 from Wellfleet Main Street to Truro, to Shore Road in Truro. And Michael Trepanier, I'm going to copy you guys with all of this. I just saw it today. Wanted to talk to me as an individual. And like I said, I don't want to do that. I would like Ryan to invite him to come and have a brief agenda item meeting with all of us, because I just, you know, if they're thinking about this, they don't have to do a whole plan. They can just say, hey, we're thinking about it. They did give us notice that this was being considered financially. And I was the only one who queried it. Apparently, maybe Charlie did too. Charlie, do you have, Charlie and Jay also are in this thread, all of which you guys should be able to read. And Charlie, do you have anything to add to what I just said?
Well, I will only say that obviously when I received it, you know, being new and temporary, I was totally confused. And I did reach out to Jay, who's still on the meeting. And I think Jay did some research on it. So I'll, if it's okay with all, I'll pass the baton to Jay.
Yes, that'd be fine. Jay?
Thanks, Charlie and Helen. Yeah, it was kind of a shock to me too. It was out of left field. I did a little research. I actually got in touch with Michael. So I'm going to have a conversation with him in the next coming weeks to get some more detail. But from what I understand, this is stemming from the Outer Cape Bike and Walkways Committee final report that was developed by the Cape Cod Commission in conjunction with the Outer Cape towns. So that's where the preliminary design came from. So that's located in that final report, which I believe is on the Cape Cod Commission's website. And I think I have a copy of it as well.
2 questions, Ryan, if I may.
Very briefly, but that,
Yeah,
be careful because we're getting
into a discussion. I know, I don't want to do that. I just like to ascertain, this is the recent report, Jay, right, from the Cape Cod Commission?
Yep.
Okay, so my intent for bringing it up was, first of all, to bring you guys up to speed. I'm going to copy this with no opinion expressed. Copy what I got. And the second thing is, Ryan, I really would like to have an agenda item with this, and, you know, ask Charlie to, or Jay to say, Mr. Capani or whoever needs to have this said to them. We don't need a big formal thing that's a kind of commitment design plan. We just need to have somebody show
Yeah, Helen.
and tell us what's going on.
Yep.
So could we have an agenda item for that, please?
Okay, I mean, yes, but you did, yeah, they're getting way off topic here.
No, I'm asking, it's a future concern.
You
I know.
don't need to have an essay on a future concern.
I
So,
can say as much as I want to clarify to the rest of the board. I wish you wouldn't laugh when you were trying to shut me up. It's like, it makes me want to smack you.
okay, correspondence and vacancy reports. Is there any that anybody would like to address?
Oh, yeah, correspondence.
Yes.
It should be noted that we got a significant email from Dan Hort, our former town administrator, and it's in the public record. It was addressed to the select board, but was also discussed. And one of our local periodicals, and I think that it's an important document. So I'm mentioning it here to have it become very significantly part of the public record. Thank you.
Okay. And then minutes. August 16th, public hearing.
I'm looking for it.
This was the hearing on Hilta.
I move, we accept the minutes of Monday, August 16th, 2021.
Janet, I had one amendment.
Okay, well, now you make it, yeah.
Yeah, it's brief. It's just a phrase. On the first page, page 1.
Actually, we're supposed to second it and then discuss it, right?
Yeah.
Did
Oh,
he
no,
just second it?
you have to move it as amended. Okay. In other words, you moved them, but the motion should be, if there's an amendment, moved as amended. And I'm sorry, Ryan, that I didn't put that out there, but it's just one phrase, so it's easy. On page 1, there's a line and there's another line, and then there's there are 1, 2, 3 paragraphs, and it's the paragraph that begins, Chair Curley began sharing his screen and pulled up a map that it says that circled the Hadilta area, that showed the Hadilta area as it was, which including the subdivision plan approved within the area in 2012. That's the phrase, which showed,
Okay.
which included the subdivision plan within the area.
Okay, so I move to approve the minutes of August 16th, 2021 as amended.
Helen, second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Helen, I.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. So I move to adjourn the open session and enter executive session in accordance with MGL Chapter 30, Section 21A, Purpose 2, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares for the police union and fire union contracts.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Helen, I. Where's Mike?
He's muted. Can you try and
He's
mute?
here. Yep, I got him unmuted.
Yeah, Michael, I, and also I abstained from the minutes.
Yep, I figured that. So, okay. So Rebecca, can you start removing people?
Yep, let me stop the recording and then I'll remove everybody.
Okay.